What's going on, everybody? This is Jose Betancourt. And as always, thank you for viewing my videos. So here is the Samsung Galaxy Note 20 Ultra recording. I'm supposed to say this is the Fuji GFX50R. So here it is. So it's been a while since I actually talked about photography. And some of you may know that I'm going through some side effects from a head injury. And it has really affected photography. So what I'm going to do here today is try to explain the adjustments I had to make with photography. Now, I haven't done much, if anything, as far as photography is concerned in the last, I'd say 4 months. I actually tried taking my camera out to the park to take photos, and unfortunately, I wasn't motivated enough to take any photos. So I'm going to show you a few things here in the menu system. Let me see if I adjust the ISO on my phone really quick. So the text over here is a little more readable. So when I take my photos, I like to do everything in manual mode. That means I control the shutter speed. I control my ISO, which is in this dial over here. And then I have an aperture ring on my lenses, on most of the Fuji lenses. So, and the only thing that is on auto is white balance. But now I have to adjust. One of the biggest issues I have with my head injury, which is called traumatic brain injury, TBI, is that I have a sensitivity to light. So they call it photophobia. And sometimes when I have my ISO, let's say if I have it on manual, and this happened to me quite a few times, maybe that's why I stopped. I would have it on manual. I would walk into a scene, set my ISO, let's say I have it at 800. This particular camera can go down to 100. I have it at 800 with my aperture set at 2. So I'm going to get a lot of light. Of course, it all depends on the situation. So if I forget, and unfortunately memory is also an issue right now for me. So when I forget, not if, when, the next time I go to take a photo and I look into the viewfinder, I'm looking at a bright screen, and that screws me up to no end. It gives me a bad headache. It makes me extremely moody, and I have to put on my sunglasses and look through the viewfinder, the rear viewfinder. Well, this is the viewfinder, but the LCD viewfinder. And I don't really like to look through the back screen because I feel you get more of an accurate reading looking through the viewfinder. It has, a higher resolution. And, I'm just accustomed to doing photography that way. So now I have to set my ISO. Let me see if I could go to my settings. I'm going to have to set it to automatic. So as you can see here, it is moving around, and I can set it to automatic. Now I can go to my menu, and this is something I really don't like doing. I like to control everything. And so it is somewhat of a letdown that I have to go through that right now. It really is. But is this something that I can adjust and excuse me, I'm losing my train of thought. Sorry about that. Is it something that I can adapt to? Yes, absolutely. Now, I normally wear sunglasses when I go out because I have to. If it's really sunny and I do not go out with sunglasses, I am screwed. Now, if it's a gloomy day, there's no sunlight shooting through the clouds, I'm okay. But when I try to shoot a photo with my sunglasses using the viewfinder, it gets in the way. Now, also, and I totally forgot, like, where my ISO settings are at. I know I have it on this front dial here. I can just hit the Q button and do it through there. There's another way to do it through the menu system. So I apologize for that. So if I wear my sunglasses and I try to take a photo using the rear screen, I have to depend on the histogram more than ever. So that, and unfortunately right now you're not going to see the histogram because I have the lens cap. So using the histogram has its advantages. You should be using it anyway. But now I have to use it more than ever because if I'm using my sunglasses, things are going to look underexposed, and I'm going to set my exposure according to my sunglasses. And then I will overexpose them when I see them without the sunglasses. So the histogram, where if it's sitting where I want my lighting to be, then I'm okay. Even if it might look a little darker when I have my sunglasses on, at least the histogram is telling me, no, you're okay. So I'm going to have to use auto ISO. I'm going to have to depend on the histogram more often. I'd say as far as being outside, unless it's a very cloudy day, I'm going to have to depend on that histogram. The other thing I'm going to have to depend on now, because one of the things I like to do is I like to take black and white photos and I like to make them very moody, and sometimes you're fighting against auto ISO. The ISO might want to put your photo at 500, and meanwhile I want to put it at 100. And so it's just like your cell phone. Your cell phone is automatically setting up your exposure, and it's not setting up something that you visually see in your head. So that's where auto compensation comes in. And exposure compensation, excuse me. I don't know where the hell I got auto compensation, but exposure compensation comes in. And it can kind of, it's kind of self-explanatory, compensate for the light that you want to add or decrease. So it can increase or decrease the sensitivity of the light coming in and somewhat make things a little darker, a little moodier. So I rarely use exposure compensation, but I've been having to use it. So unfortunately, there's certain consequences to my head injury, but fortunately now I'm using the camera a little differently than I used to. And keep saying auto compensation. Exposure compensation is definitely learning it and using it all the time. It's a benefit. There's a benefit, and I could also put my camera. Also put the camera like all the way to automatic, right? Which when you put your aperture ring to A, you're basically letting the camera know, hey, you set my aperture for me. So I could set the ISO to automatic, put the lens or the aperture, have the camera set my aperture automatically. And then I could I can control the lighting somewhat through my shutter speed and exposure compensation. So there are ways to get around it. Now all I have to do is find the motivation to go back out there and take photos. Just when things were starting to pick up as far as business, things began to lock down. You see, I have no photos in my GFX 50R. And I love this camera. This camera has been phenomenal. It's been the best purchase as far as photography is concerned that I have ever made, especially with this 110 and the 45 f2.8. That setup is basically all I need right now. And I really need to go out and take advantage of what I have. It's, there's a lot to document out there. There's a lot to document. I just need to fight I've been dealing with some depression. So and mood swings, and also trying to learn how to simply live with some new limitations. And so that's been tough. And what has suffered the most has been my photography. So I wanted to keep you guys updated in regards to that. Is there anything else that helps me since being injured? Not really. As I stated, I'm not even editing photos. I used to just practice editing photos, old photos with Capture One. I haven't done that either. So maybe that's when I finally do get back. It's taken me a while to get my speech somewhat back to where it used to be. I used to slur a lot. I remember having an interview with Jans, and man, I was butchering his name, and I just kept repeating myself that I was butchering his name, and I was so out of it back then. When I went to the Fuji Love Live event, or the Fuji Love event, I don't know how I made it through. That was a 2-day event. It was one of the best. It was one of the best events I've been to as far as interacting with people who love the same hobby as I do, and fortunately we love the same brand. I don't know how I made it through, because at that point the neurologist hadn't even seen me yet. So I was walking around with these symptoms that I had no idea that I had. I was losing memory, I was dizzy, I was tired. Now I have to deal with fatigue. And this might sound a little funny, but if I do too much, like let's say I do a few podcasts a day, or video and a podcast, and then I go to therapy, and then I go to vision therapy, like if I do too much in one time or at one time, my brain shuts down and I have to go to sleep. And there's nothing I can do about it. Coffee will not help me. My brain just shuts down, and it tells me, yo, it's time for you to take a rest. I'm tired. So there's a lot that I'm going through, a lot that I'm learning. I'm still not working. I still, my injury happened at work, so I am getting compensated for that. But of course, just like every job, the insurance companies will do all they can to fight for that compensation. So even their doctors, even the insurance, the doctors that work for the insurance, have been telling me that I need to think of a career change. So my wife and I are looking to move out of the country to Europe, maybe Spain, and we're just trying to figure out how we can do that. We're just trying to figure out how to get a work visa or something. So there's some things in the works. I really do want to make more videos about photography, and I do apologize that I really don't have much to show you, but I just wanted to update you guys and let you know that I'm adjusting. I'm at a crossroads, and not only with my photography, but with life. And maybe I'll share that adventure with you guys. If that's something you want to see, let me know in the comment section. But anyway, I'm Jose Betancourt. I thank you for viewing my videos. Talk to you later. Take care.